Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be taking some notes on the history of rockets. Now, we're just going to take notes on a few of the things that we talked about in class on Monday. So up here, I'm going to write history of rockets, part 1. So we're just covering today, I just put rocks. Sorry, this is the geologist in me. Have it. History of rockets. Sorry about that, part 1. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Hero engine. So I'm going to come down one line, and I'm going to write Hero engine. And that took place somewhere between 10 and 70 AD. Now, the Hero engine is important because, surprise, surprise, we're actually going to be trying to recreate what Hero did, about 2,000 years ago. That will be our next lab. Now, the Hero engine was a steam engine invented by a man named Hero of Alexandria. So, steam engine. Invented by Hero of Alexandria. Now, his steam engine heated up water and turned to steam, heat up water, turned to steam, was pushed out of pipes causing rotation. So I'll read that for you. Steam engine invented by Hero of Alexandria, heated up water, turned to steam, was pushed out of pipes causing rotation. So let's draw a little sketch of that. Now, we don't know exactly what his engine looked like. We just know that we have the written records of it, and we think it looks something like this. So you can sketch it however you want. Something like that, though. Alright, the next thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to skip a line, are the Chinese and their contributions. The Chinese are often credited with being the first people to discover rocketry, because a steam engine isn't technically a rocket, but it's not too far off because it's a gas. Steam is a gas. It's being propelled out of some type of cylindrical object, and this Hero engine is pretty close to fitting that baseline definition. The Chinese are not only the first credited to discover, rockets, but the first to use them in warfare as well. And in 1232, they used rockets or fireworks strapped to arrows to, defend against the Mongolians. I'm not going to write all that. We're just going to write that they used powder. Now, that powder was like sulfur and charcoal and all these things. When you mix together, it causes like really pretty, colorful sparks. And so they used those, and they carried them around in tubes of like leather. And if any of them accidentally ever went off, it stands to reason that since there's only one opening in a tube, they would have kind of shot forward. And somebody got the great idea, hey, we could turn these into exploding rockets. So powder in tubes cause colorful sparks. And propelled rocket forward. I'll draw a very rudimentary little rocket here. I'm a pretty good artist though, guys, so just, you know. You don't even need to tell me, I know. Alright. The next person we're going to talk about, and we're skipping some that we talked about in class. I'm just kind of giving you, a few highlights. This is one of my personal favorites, one of my favorite stories in all of science. And it's Galileo Galilei. And he lived from 1564 to 1642. Now this man has done a lot for us. You might not even realize how much he's done for you. Now, we're not going to go in depth because he was, a philosopher, he was a mathematician, he was an astronomer, he was all types of things. We're just going to talk about his contributions to rocketry. We're going to say he was an Italian. Remember, he's Italian. That might be something you want to pay attention to. I'm just going to say scientist, because he was so many different types of scientists that I don't want to pigeonhole him into one. He was the first, that we know of at least, to discover inertia. Now this is important to us because without his discovery of inertia, Newton would have never been able to, well, I shouldn't say never been able to, but they really helped guide Newton's discovery of all of his laws. So I'm just going to write helped Newton, and that really should be capitalized. Sorry about that. Helped Newton develop his laws. Okay. Now, the big boy of them all, I'm going to draw a little telescope right here because he's really famous for his contributions to astronomy, which is my personal, astronomy and earth science are my personal areas of interest. That's not a very good telescope, but maybe you can tell. That's Galileo. I'll give him a fancy hat. I feel like every old Italian guy needs a nice fancy hat. Alright. Next is Sir Isaac Newton. So Newton was a genius, renowned for being incredibly intelligent. Not well liked by his peers, though. Not a lot of people who knew him really liked him very much. A lot can be written about how he rubbed people the wrong way. Made a lot of people angry. We're just going to say he is an English scientist. I still don't get it. I'll move it up a little bit. An English scientist, and I'm going to say he really helped condense all the previous rocket science into his 3 basic laws. So he condensed all of the previous knowledge of rocket science into his three, I'm not going to use the word basic. I'm going to change that to elegant laws, into his three elegant laws. Now this allowed, let me start a new bullet point. This allowed rocket science to become very precise. Okay. And the last one we're going to write about today. Now remember, any of these people I've talked about on here today are fair game. Any of these people are fair game for the quiz on Friday. But if they're not on these notes, I won't ask you about them. And I might not even ask you about them, even if they are here on these notes. So Jules Verne. Oh, I had to throw him in here. Had to throw Jules Verne in here. So he lived from 1828 to 1905. Now, Jules Verne, he was a writer. He was a science fiction writer. I should also probably add on there he's French. He's a French writer. Now, he inspired many people. Including Mr. Hearst. I grew up reading this guy. So he inspired many people, including Mr. Hearst, to look to space as a new frontier of exploration using rockets. Okay, I have a little bit of extra room down here, so I'm going to draw this picture. If this picture would cause you to have to go to another page, don't draw this picture. Or, draw it in the margins. Try to keep all this on one page if possible. You don't even got to draw it. I felt like it. We're going to have the Earth right here. We're going to draw me standing on it. This is Mr. Hearst right here. You can tell because he's so awesome looking. And we're going to draw a rocket ship. Now, I know this isn't how our rocket ships look today, but I'm kind of drawing some of the ideas that Jules Verne had for a rocket ship. Flying away to go explore the stars. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, those are our notes. So if I could ask you anything that I wrote down here about the Hero engine, anything about these fire rockets or fire arrows, I could ask you about Galileo, and inertia. I could ask you about Sir Isaac Newton, and we spent a lot of time talking about Isaac Newton in first quarter, so I could ask you more than what I have right here. I might ask you, any of his 3 laws, or anything like that. And we didn't talk a lot about his personal life, so this one was a little more personal, but Jules Verne, I could definitely ask you a question about Jules Verne. Alright, and that's it for your notes today.